extended next year. So a memo will be appointed. Several other matters this morning. Let me take item number 2. This is one that's been discussed several times. I'm asking for authority, and actually 2 and 4 are related. As you know, members of the board, and as we've explained to the public, in 2010,
1B, you're going to do 1B?
I'm coming back to that.
Okay, all right.
In 2010, there was a bond issue that, and part of that, for $2.5 million, part of that money was spent on warning sirens. The 2 other purposes in that bond issue were for acquiring a justice court building and any improvements there too, and to do a training facility for the sheriff. The county's needs have evolved since that bond was originally let. Unfortunately, the bond was narrowly drawn. We're asking for authority to do 2 things today. 1, we would like to publish a notice of intent to the public and set a hearing, which would be our second April meeting, for any objectors to change the purpose of these bonds to broaden it as permitted by state statute, which would allow you, the board, then to pay the elevators in circuit court, make repairs to the jail.
So moved.
Second.
There you go. Thank you.
We have a motion, a second, and a third. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed.
Yes,
Let me ask you this before you leave.
Yes.
In terms of the justice court, now once we repurpose, is that off the table now that we will move justice court somewhere else? Because I know that money never coming back that direction.
That, ultimately, the board will have to decide. You have approximately $1,862,000 remaining out of that bond issue. Ultimately, the board will have to decide what amount they want to spend for what purpose as permitted by the statute. They could continue to spend it for justice court. It just depends on the needs that you as a body determine over the next few months.
What kind of time frame before this money can be repurposed?
We are moving expeditiously. I would tell you 90 days from today.
Thank you.
It's a 2-step process, and that brings me to the second part of this, item number 4. We're asking that you grant authority to hire the Baker Donaldson Law Firm for $10,000.
As we move in properly second, Supervisor Graham had a question. I don't know if it's still related.
Yes, I just need to know the amount that was in the bond.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
And just again, time frame, you'll have a public hearing at your second April meeting for anyone who objects to changing the purpose. Once that hearing is held and the board votes, assuming the board votes in the affirmative, we will then file documents upstairs in Chancery Court. And we're going to have a second hearing before a Chancery judge and have this approved by a judge, since we are changing the purpose. And we will keep you apprised. But again, we hope to have all this done and have this money freed up in June. And this
What
money
about
that
other monies that's available there, just sitting out there?
we're working on that too, Supervisor Stokes. This is the easier of the 2 problems to tackle, so we're tackling this first. With respect to the 2007 bonds, we're in the process of having the attorneys who did those bonds tell us whether the projects that have been approved by this board can be paid from those bonds.
But these different law firms, right?
Different law firms.
All right.
Yes, sir. All right. That takes care of 2 and 4. I want to tackle item number 6, which is the boardroom decorum policy that was discussed at length last week during the work session. It's been distributed. I don't think there are any remaining questions.
Second.
You have a copy of it, please?
Yes, I don't have one with me. I know I've passed one to your staff. Yes. And Supervisor Stokes, the best way for you to grasp it quickly, I can make a great analogy for you. Somewhat similar to what we did at the city of Jackson in terms of just a time limit on speakers. Not trying to stifle anyone's free speech, but just putting a little bit of parameters so we keep our meetings moving.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Not vote, Mr. President, I haven't seen it.
Motion passes.
The next item is item number 7, and that is the authority to file the annual disclosure statement with the rating agencies.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Moving properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
I will now go back, Supervisor Stokes, to item 1B, the amendment to quality choice correctional health care with respect to the Henley Young Juvenile Justice Center. Earlier this year, or actually late last year, it started in January, this board approved us amending the quality health care contract to provide services at Henley Young. Those services have been provided, but as the year has unfolded, it has been determined that we need services beyond what was initially agreed. It's our recommendation that you amend the contract to provide additional services. Ms. Davis can tell you what additional services specifically. And the reason we need to do this is so that we can assure the federal court we're in compliance with the consent decree.
Second.
Has been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Question, Supervisor Greer.
And one cost.
This is a cost of $3,920
Now, could we get a memo?
Is that per month, Nick?
per month, yes, for nursing services.
From,
And it is in existing budget.
from the monitor, because I thought we brought to our attention that the other side is protesting,
Yes,
appealing, so just get a memo still.
we will.
Thank you so much. If you miss item number 5.
Now, I'm coming back to Ms. Banks. That is her item, and she's going to address that.
Ms. Banks went off her way.
A lot of
Might as well have her say, Ms. Banks. It's a blessing. Oh, dear.
A girl.
That's a blessing. Congratulations.
Thank
Glad to have
you.
you back.
Thank you. Good to be back. I'm presenting items 5 and items 8. That is 5 policies that the board council drafted and reviewed for personnel. I distributed a copy via email to the supervisors on Friday. However, there was one word change on the internet policy, so I'm going to provide another copy to you. It was just from not prohibited to prohibited.